afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you're enjoying this session. All the conversations starting from Mr. Ranjan Mehta and all the two panel discussions. So I'm going to talk about how do we build this sustainable and scalable retail frontline training programs. So, uh, hopefully in the next 30 minutes, I'll be able to share more insights about what we have put together and how we work with customers. Okay. And as we all know, COVID has transformed how retail businesses operate, right? And more specifically, it has changed the way employees improve their training, improve their knowledge, and how they work in their workplace. So, and so if you see, already there have been so many challenges which we have to provide training for retail workforce. It could be the new ways of working. It could be they are deskless. Right, it becomes another big challenge, and attrition rates. It could be the change management or the transformation that they need to go through, and the constant pressure to train, retrain, upskill, reskill on various aspects that learners have to go through, and also availability of really good trainers at all locations, because retail outlets are spread across the regions, and we can't have trainers literally be everywhere. Okay, and definitely on demand training is something which is a challenge. And other important aspect is how do we help learners retain knowledge to drive excellence. Okay, right. And now, because of these challenges, in addition to that, COVID has brought in its own challenges to make it even more complex. Okay, and we all know that the old methods of embedding knowledge do not work anymore, as a lot of these external factors which has now made a significant impact of the way learners improve their knowledge. And if at all you look at on the other side, where what kind of challenges the frontline face, right? It could be they need to be literally alert, literally all through the day, right? When they are in front of people, and they have very little time to go for detailed training programs. And to ensure that they deliver right quality, their skills have to be literally up to date. And they need to remember all these concepts literally every time, so that they are able to apply whenever they are interacting with the customers. And being the face of the company, they carry bigger responsibilities because they need to live up to those standards. Because of that, they go through a lot of pressure through the day. And other challenges could be the education levels, personal backgrounds, and then definitely the livelihood challenges. And to add to that, because definitely COVID has induced its own additional challenges, where retail staff have to be even more alert and definitely have a good sense of health, hygiene, definitely social distancing, all the compliance norms. And other important thing, which always has been a good mode of training to them, is definitely being the face-to-face training, which is today not possible. And now they need to start learning, or they have been learning in the way using digital mediums. So if at all we have, having seen that, so what exactly, what should our training should be focusing on, right? We should be focusing on how do we provide that they task efficiently and effectively, so that they literally do their job right the first time and every time. And embracing changes and transformation. These are the big challenge for them, the way they have to work today, the way they have to converse, the way the sales happen, it's entirely different. And they should be really good at their service and the product, because the time that they get, maybe they would have earlier, pre-COVID, maybe they would have had, they can spend more time with the customer. Today, it is not so, because literally everything is at very fast pace. And they need to take care of their personal hygiene, grooming, and the skills, which is soft skills or people skills, has to be at a different level altogether today. And another important aspect is they should know their where they need to improve upon, okay, what aspects that they should be taking care, and so that they are aware of themselves to groom and upskill, reskill to grow within the organization. And now, as employees have to manage new events and situations, which was not there earlier, right? Employees need to be literally clued or updated on the latest updates, be it on their products, services, how do they handle customers, process, compliance aspects. It could be the best practices. And having said that, traditionally we have been planning training once a month or a quarter, I think it just don't work, right? Today, it should be, we literally need to train people on a daily basis. I did hear from the panel that that is something that several organizations are already following. And we all know getting employees to learn daily is easier said than done, because it's not that an easy task. Another big challenge what we face is learners are unable to remember, right? And so that if they can't remember, they cannot apply on the job. And that's where we need to see as to how how do we make this training scalable and sustainable. Okay, maybe let us just see as to how exactly we can make the training scalable, because it should be less dependent on trainers, because trainers should be enablers for training than just delivering the training. Gone are those days. And it should be easily implementable across geographies. It is accessible, and definitely it has to help drive the better adoption, because any training strategy that we put in has to at least have these few aspects that is taken care. And other important aspect is to ensure that it is accessible. It has to be mobile first, right? Learners should be able to access the training literally at their fingertips, so that they can access it anytime, anywhere. And it should be bite-sized learning, so that because they can consume it on their mobile phones. And other important aspect is, as we did talk about, I did talk about, trainers should be enablers. They also should be in a way to create these courses very, very swiftly. Okay, so instead of just delivering, they should be able to create digital courses and then roll them out very, very fast. And that is where using these right tools and technologies become very, very important. Okay, so that is where which is required to drive these experiences for learners, so that they are able to consume the material, all the training material. And this is where we can use, be it your existing LMS, or it could be any system that will help you to drive the training, which will help them to retain. If you retain that for longer duration, and in case you don't have a system, I think maybe you should just start implementing new age systems like Credo, which will help you to implement and sustain this for longer duration. And how do we make this literally the retail training sustainable? Okay, it should be meaningful, right? And it should be useful for the long run. Okay, and there should be a strategy to build continuous learning. Okay, and it should be bite-sized, considering the constraint for time that learners have. It should be small, bite-sized learning. It should be digestible, and it should also help learners when they have a need to learn, or they need to learn quickly and apply it on the job. Okay, and the system should be able to generate right analytics, so that we are able to learn from that and create better interventions as we go along. And having seen that, what is also another important aspect is what are key success drivers to make this entire initiative's success is, as I see all of us start thinking from the enterprise point of view. So we should always be able to balance between the goals of the business as well as the objectives when we're drawing up the L&D mandate or the training mandates. And it should be digital savvy. Okay, and as I mentioned, it has to be mobile. The analytics has to be something which will help us to make better predictions, so that we have better training deliverables. And it should help equip our people to be customer centric and maybe show empathy to others. Right, this is so important in this current juncture of the business that we are in. Okay, which helps them to literally have better experience. And another important aspect is collaboration. This is so important today, wherein not only that's a physical collaboration, it should be digital collaboration, which should help them to be curious, so that they are able to learn, be agile in adapting a change. So that's where the transformation becomes a very vital role. And other important aspect is we should have right structures, systems, and processes which will help the entire training. And other important aspect is definitely the onboarding experience of any retail employee has to be good, because any good onboarding experience will help people to stay with the organization for a longer duration. And analytics continue to play a vital role, which will help us to ensure that we drive the learning outcomes as what we have achieved, what we wanted to achieve. And having said, though we have noted all these aspects, another big challenge which always comes up is this, right? Employees mostly desist training, as sometimes it can interrupt in their daily work or task. And they often they complain of lack of time to attend, or some because of overly long sessions. And these days they're not keen to take time out of their daily tasks because they have something to finish, to attend the sessions, which sometimes may not add value for all the time that they spend. And another aspect is, if you bring them in, another challenge that we all face is, the learner says they just can't remember what they have gone through. And we all know this is purely because people literally tend to forget whatever they learned, majority of them in literally a week's time, right? So due to the forgetting curve. And what we also have to continuously assess and see is what is that can be done. And that's where it is very important to look at this. I think we all have gone through this multiple times, wherein our focus has to be to help learners to build mastery over the topic so that they continue to build the competency and help them to improve on a continuous basis. So how can this be done? This is definitely, the answer is reinforcement. And any programs that we do should be able to reiterate, help learners recall by continuous or periodic reinforcement. This is something which is very, very, very important. That is where continuous learning plays a vital role. And we all know that today's learners one is learn more to keep pace with the competition. And traditional methods just don't work anymore. And that is where delivering digital methods do help learners remember so that they are able to apply on the job. And so having seen this, so what exactly is required to improve engagement? Because providing this positive reinforcements through bite-sized learning or micro-learning is a good idea, as to we can reinforce the information in smaller bites, which will help learners to recall the training, apply it on their job, and ensure that the training programs over a period of time become a success. Because any training program should not be for today, that I create a program that will help learners remember today, but what happens after a week or 10 days? Because learner also would have forgotten in the same speed. So it is important for us to create our programs which will help us to reinforce this training continuously so that they continue to evolve. And microlearning, as we all know, means definitely it is a right size content where it teaches one specific learning outcome at a time, because that is what is important. And other important aspect is, in addition to improving the engagement, is our focus to equip our learners to be on that action-based mindset, wherein we are able to help them to carry out their tasks into outcomes. They would not require definitely histories or theories. Instead, definitely they would require nuggets that focus on tasks that they perform, which will help them to, and also align that to their daily workflow, ensure it's structured well so that they can seek guidance as and required. And other important is that they just get the required support as and when they really require. And to make this happen, that is where if our strategy is to ensure that we drive continuous learning as a strategy, it becomes easier that all our programs get aligned so that we continue to help learners remember and apply on the job. And this is something that has proved, because there are innumerable studies which tells that continuous learning has helped organizations globally. Okay. And how do we create these strategies? How do we make the entire thing work? Is definitely there are numerous ways, wherein one such aspect is align your existing learning ecosystem or adopt a new system, wherein learners continue to consume the training on a continuous basis, which will help them to provide training. Sometimes it could be every day, it could be at a set periodicity, which will help them to align to their flow of work. And definitely it has to be mobile first strategy through bite-sized learning, collaboration, knowledge sharing, peer feedback are critical. So is mentoring. Another important aspect is traditionally we provide training, and if there's a gap, like we assess through questions and we tell them right or wrong. But we should start thinking going beyond. Remediation has to help bridge that learning gap at the moment of occurrence than later, because post-mortem will not work, because learners would have literally forgotten the training that they've gone through becomes important. And it should help the training program should help meet immediate, intermediate, or when they're transitioning between jobs. So that should be done. And we also have to ensure that we curate the content which is relevant to the learner profile, so that then we drive that. And it has to be helping learners, as we talk about, to drive continuous learning, to ensure that they are able to remember this for a longer term, so that your training plan has to be not just for the current program, maybe for 3 months, 6 months, so that key aspects are on a continuous basis with very minimal disruption to their work, which will drive maximum productivity. Okay. So having seen these strategies, how do we now go about building this? Okay, but the easiest is, I think we all know, we have seen micro-learning strategies working really well for every customer. And this can be done very easily. It could be before a formal training, it could be after a formal training, anytime during a week. Okay, at regular moments, once we set the periodicity, it can just flow through. And at the moment of the need, when they have a need, it should be easily accessible. And what could be the types? I think it could be definitely small nuggets, where it could each one addressing the objective. It can be multiple nuggets which will help. It could be activities which will trigger interest so that they explore and learn. Okay, create curiosity. It could be definitely through videos, questions, challenge them continuously, create some fun-based activities, which is very, very important and critical. And job aids as and when required. It could be about the SOPs, it could be about the compliance aspects. So anything. I think there are multiple ways as to how we can use these varied interventions, which will help people to remember, and also ensure that the program that we drive is spaced out. Okay, so that it helps to address that forgetting curve. So there is a continuous reinforcement measures, which could be in the form of this well-spaced learning, as we discussed earlier, as well as ensure that there are memory boosters, which are nothing but we help learners after a training program give small nuggets, which will help them to remember this larger program. It could be, say, you induct somebody, but when we go through induction, there's so much of literally cognitive load on the learner. And how do we help them continue to remember some of the key aspects, which will help them to recall, apply on the job, is something where memory boosters does play a vital role. And some of the best tips and practices to train frontline, definitely any training should be task oriented. There should be no unnecessary extra information which is not required. Focus on reinforcement, remediation, helping learners to build a mastery over a period of time, and have these challenges which will create that curiosity, enthusiasm, which will help learners, which will help them to reinforce the key concepts. And over a period of time, they automatically make it as a practice to carry out those tasks better. And wherever possible, videos has been working really well. Use them to reinforce key messages. And how do we drive this entire continuous learning experience is definitely using your existing LMS, as I mentioned earlier, or embrace products like Credo, which is built for frontline employees, wherein you can build programs or strategize your existing programs to drive continuous learning before or after training. And other important aspect is any trainings that we have to deliver today in a fast-paced environment is to ensure that these are built quickly so that it can be rolled out, because that is development of these training modules are critical, and ensure that the programs are sustained for a specified period than just to deliver one training program, because it has to be for long-term retention, and definitely it has to be available on any device. So to quickly talk about, okay, one such strategy which I have access to is definitely Credo as a product, as to how we can drive continuous learning, where in Credo you can create literally the learning journeys for learners. Okay, it can align with your existing ecosystem. Using Credo, you can create your own courses. Any of your trainers who knows Word, PowerPoint can create beautiful courses, create learning paths, drive your entire meetings through integrated with Zoom and MS Teams. Assignments can be done, OJTs can be done, surveys. Okay, you can have your all the resources unified in one location. And because course creation is also so easy in this, including gamified activities, remediation, memory boosters are built-in features which will help you to just drive that entire activity, which is all completely automated. And other important aspect is the entire translation. If you create courses, you can just manage the entire translation process in any language right inside the platform, because that learners can literally consume at any way. And analytics definitely a built-in feature. And other important aspect is to give that additional time to your trainers so that they are able to drive better training outcomes, build better competent teams. And some of the examples that you could see is which is built within platform like Credo is some of these screens that I'm just showing, where you can create literally various activities for learners to challenge them, create beautiful courses so that it's easy to consume. It's it engages the learner, because that's what is important. So this is just some small quick aspects which I just wanted to cover, driving that memory boosters or space learning collaboration, which is easy. And let's go. And there are a couple of case studies where we have seen this entire continuous learning journey, where we have implemented in an environment like retail. Is we're working with a large car sales, retail sales company, around 7,000 people, where we had to literally convert their entire customer service guide into micro-learning modules. And learners could literally access it on the mobile app anytime, anywhere. The best part of what happened is, I think after they implemented this strategy, overall platform engagement increased to 89%. Another important aspect is they reduced their entire customer escalation. Earlier, it used to be above 50% to 27%, where they are able to now provide better customer experience. So if you prepare training programs, it will one way or the other impacts the business. So that's something that we have seen this. And other good example is we work with another large insurance company where close to 30,000 people had to be trained. There are huge content that SOPs and others, which we converted into micro-learning courses. And we also provided a lot of videos and quite a bit of content which we could not convert, or because it was too much of content to convert. We retained some of the content as reference guides, as PDFs, and as well as gamification interventions. And again, content was mobile friendly. But the other important aspect is their course completion rates earlier was literally 20-30% and increased in 6 months time up to 73%. And the sales also increased because they saw that they were just comparing, because here the L&D team works closely with the revenue team. They could see that there is an increase in the sales revenues, and that's something that they were very happy to see as to means how this any training intervention which is planned, which is driven for a long-term impact, will definitely have positive vibes, which drives the learners so that aligned to the organization, to the objectives becomes easier. So to conclude, definitely means what is important is definitely having this meaningful and relevant programs to make that training really impactful, because this is so important, and ensure that it is digitally driven, right? Any training which is bite size has to drive performance enhancement, and using the right tool or the platform to create that training faster, ensure that it's accessible on mobile phones, remediate any learning gaps, drive that continuous learning journey, which is very, very important, so that we are able to evaluate the overall performance efficiently and effectively. And definitely, as I mentioned earlier, the focus has to be to drive continuous learning so that we are able to align organizations with what is required. So to just quickly talk about Tesseract, we are learning specialists, been in the business for a long time. We are an award-winning company, provide content solutions, provide the Credo as a platform, being used for some of the large retail outlets. We also offer ready-made content on various aspects. So I would love to connect up and have any conversations as to how we have been helping. This is some of the class that we have got globally. And if you're around, then please do visit our booth and we can have the conversations going.